Good morning to everybody. I'm really sorry again for this delay, but finally we made it. It's our great pleasure to welcome you here in the second day of Sidec. My name is Franci Pušavec from a research environment, University of Ljubljana, and I will be managing this panel on future technologies. Yeah, today our objective is to explore how innovation, research and collaboration are shaping the next generation of defense and security technologies. Our common goal is and should be to discuss how these emerging technologies can strengthen both national resilience and European strategic autonomy. With this in mind, we are really happy to have our honored and competent guests here that will give the presentations not just on a national level but also on the international. And I would kindly invite our guests to the stage with me. These are Ms. Kristine Ružice, from the Directorate General for Defense, Industry and Space, European Commission. Thank you. Then Ms. Nathalie Couchard from EDA, European Defense Agency. Ms. Kadri Tamai, NATO Diana. And Dr. Liljana Brožič from MORS, Ministry of Defense of the Republic of Slovenia. So, according to the schedule, even though we are a bit late, we will follow the same order. And we will start with the speeches, so presentations. First one from the European Commission. So I would kindly ask Ms. Kristine Ružice to present the view of European Commission on the current status of the development. That's the mic. And do we have any? Yeah.
Well, I can start maybe before I
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. My name is Kristine Ružice. As I was introduced, I come from European Commission, Defense, Industry and Space Directorate. We are a relatively new directorate. It's our 5th year. And today I will speak about what European Commission does for defense innovation and defense R&D. But before I do that, I also would like to thank, of course, Slovenian Defense Ministry and IDA for inviting European Commission to speak to Slovenian companies, Slovenian SMEs. We really always appreciate this opportunity to come out and talk to companies directly. Right, so of course I take that some of you know very well European Defense Fund. Today I'll speak about that, but also about the European Defense Innovation Scheme that is part of the EDF, that is initiative supporting startup, scale-up companies, non-traditional suppliers in defense. Before I dive in and talk about that, I wanted to give you a little bit of a perspective what Commission has delivered in the last few years. Of course, I will not start back with 2017, but with 2021. Of course, EDF was our main flagship initiative, but after 2022, of course, Russian aggression in Ukraine, we delivered a lot of new initiatives to support not only industrial ramp-up, and the program was focusing. The first program was focusing to ammunition production, 155 millimeter ammunition, but also for the first time we supported defense ministries, the joint procurement of European armament and technologies. Last year, we also presented European Defence Industrial Programme that was, in fact, agreed last week. It will be essentially a continuation, support more to defense ministries for joint procurement. That is really our focus, and also support to industrial ramp-up. And last thing I want to mention is Rearm Europe plan that was presented earlier this year that essentially delivered 800 billion euros, so 150 as a safe instrument loans to member states. I know Slovenia is not among the 19 member states that subscribe to these loans, but they are focusing on armament procurement, on joint armament procurement from European defense industry. And also, of course, national escape clause that created additional fiscal space to increase defense budget, again, with focusing to armament procurement. Right, let me now dive into the European Defence Fund. A few slides just as a reminder. So it's 7.3 billion euros, approximately 1 billion every year for joint defense research and development. We are providing R&D grants, but we are also very much stressing competitiveness, jointness, cross-border cooperation among industry and among research and technology organizations and governments. And in European Defence Innovation Scheme, I will speak about that in more detail. It's part of the program. We saw immediately that the EDF, of course, is focusing on more on the bigger platforms and longer-term R&D, but we were not fully addressing smaller industrial players, dual-use companies. So EUDIS program was created exactly to provide faster support than EDF does. Again, on EDF, 1/3 approximately every year, so 1/3 of €1 billion is focusing on research projects, so that is 100% funding from EDF, and 2/3 is focusing on development projects, and there we always require support from member states or co-financing. It can be also in this industry self-financing, but we also require defense ministries to support these projects, commit that they will in the future use or procure these capabilities, and also agree on technical requirements. And as traditionally every European project, we are asking at least 3 member states and 3 industries to join the project, with exception on disruptive technologies where the requirement is asking only for 2 member states and 2 industry representatives. I cannot present you now the work program for 26, as we just closed the calls for 2025. We saw again another, I think, around 25% increase on the project proposals. I think it's around 400, 410 projects that my colleagues need to evaluate. So we are very pleased for this increased interest, but of course it's an additional workload for the colleagues. We are coming out with a new work program in January 26. So today I can remind you on the main, what we call funding categories that we support in EDF. On the right side, you will see, of course, more defense focus, like pure defense categories. And on the left side, you'll see what we can consider dual use, so sensors, cyber, digital transformation, simulation training. Every year, and the colleagues are sitting in front, we have also open calls. So in these categories, you will always see that there will be specific projects. Funding will be between 10, 20, 50, sometimes 80 million euros per project. But we also have open calls every year for specifically targeting SMEs, specifically targeting disruptive technologies. You will always see these calls between 4 and 6 million. We fund on approximately between 15, 20 projects every year, where we want industry to come with their proposals. We are not telling us, or defense ministries are not prescribing what we want to see, but we want industry to bring their disruptive new proposals to us for funding. Just as a summary, currently we have committed 4 billion euros. It's 162 projects, so on average every year we have 60 projects. Every year we see approximately between 250, 300 SMEs in the funding round, so we're very pleased with this number. Overall, it is 30% of the companies are SMEs in the EDF. And now to European Defence Innovation Scheme. It was launched a year after the EDF was launched in 22, exactly as I said, with a purpose to support startup, scale-up companies, what we call non-traditional actors in defense, to provide much faster funding, maybe smaller. We see not always companies are ready to start 4 to 6 million projects. So we provide smaller funding, also targeting different maturity levels. So we have committed that until 2027, this is 1.5 billion from overall EDF funding will be targeting smaller companies. I think if I would need to show you only one slide, I would always show this, and I think it's a good summary of what we offer. So on the right side, you will see everything which is sort of shorter, smaller funding. We start with defense and space hackathons. We always, every year, have calls for local organizers. We want to penetrate the national defense innovation ecosystems. We provide funding to organize hackathons. We provide guidance for that. And we just last weekend, we had a hackathon across eight member states, focusing both on defense and space technologies. Business Accelerator, Defense Business Accelerator is a program we started this year. We will have a new call later this year for a second cohort. We saw a great interest for startup scale-up companies. We take these companies through different European defense industrial ecosystems, gives the opportunity to speak to end users, investors, larger primes. Upcoming, and maybe Natalie will speak about that later, we are working also together, of course, very closely with European Defence Agency, and the new opportunities for testing and evaluation and validation will be offered from next year. So there will be, EDA will organize test and evaluation campaigns. Matchmaking and access to finance is focusing to bring together investors and startup scale-up companies. We are through Defense Equity Facility. We provide, it is a fund of funds instrument for private equity or venture capital funds. And matchmaking is a platform where we organize a regular on-site online events for matchmaking between companies and investors. And finally, EDF, of course, very well known, but a number of EDF calls we try to design in a way that they are more attractive for smaller players. I mentioned already SME calls, specifically for SMEs. We have calls for disruptive technologies. We organize technological challenges, so a lot of, I think, interesting opportunities for smaller players in EDF as well every year. Right, let me just walk you through very quickly these opportunities. So on grants, if you are a small company and you are looking for the opportunities in EDF, I would propose you to look at one of these options. I mentioned the open calls. Technological challenges are the calls where we fund multiple teams that work on solving specific challenge. So on average, it's 4 or 5 million funding for a 3-4 year project, depending on the requirements. I also want to highlight spin-in from civil to defense. So these are, again, specific calls where we fund projects that have received already European funding, for example, through Horizon program, but want to continue and adopt the technology for defense. So every year, we, of course, always wait from the member states, but we define specific thematics, and normally this is cyber, this is material, so more dual-use technologies where we have such calls that we want to adapt technologies that have already received EU funding for defense. Shorter-term measures. I did not mention coaching. Every SME that participates in the EDF program, you receive up to 15 days coaching depending on your specific requirements, whether it is access to the market, understanding defense capability, definition, HR, legal, IPR issues. We have lined up close to 100 coaches on different thematics that SMEs can use for such a 15-day period. Hackathons and bootcamps, accelerator, the specific mini-calls under separate selected EDF projects, I think are also an interesting opportunities for startup scale-up companies. And there we don't require to build a consortium, innovator teams. In case of accelerator, of course, you have to have a startup or scale-up company. You don't need to have a cross-border consortium to join these measures. And finally, defense equity facility and matchmaking. I already spoke a little bit about it. It's European Investment Fund that is deploying 175 million euros for private funds. We see a great interest from European funds, and we also are already reflecting how to continue this funding for private funds in the future. And again, I can just suggest to join for startup scale-up companies a matchmaking platform and use the services we provide through this platform. Right, I want to end up with few advices from my side that I always share with startups. First of all, I think it's very important to know who is your national point of contact. You need to find in Slovenia who can be giving you this advice, because we work very closely with defense ministries in defining annual work programs, in defining what support measures we provide for the companies. I also suggest to check DG DEFI's website. We have uploaded a lot of tutorials, how to check your SME status, how we deal with IPR, many other issues. You can find your answers on our website. And finally, I very warmly also invite you to attend EDF Info Days. We organize this event once a year. It will be, I think on the next slide I have a date, it's 9 to 10 March. We have thousands of participants, a lot of networking opportunities. We have, of course, a technical session where we explain the work program, and in this case will be work program 26. But we also organize a lot of specific sessions, whether you are interested in cyber or air combat or underwater warfare capabilities. So you will see which companies are there, which companies are looking for the consortium partners. So I think it is a really good networking opportunity for SMEs, for bigger players, for RTOs to find partners in your projects. And I want to leave you with a couple of days on the slide. I think it's good to remember that work program will be issued early next year. I cannot tell you what will be the submission date, but it will be probably early autumn. I leave you with some dates for defense hackathons. Again, at the end of the year, we will be looking for local hosts. We will have a call for Business Accelerator towards the end of the year. And also another reminder on the matchmaking platform. We go to different tech events to organize matchmaking between investors and companies. So please use these opportunities. And thank you.
Thank you so much for this presentation. So we have heard the view on the current situation and possibilities, opportunities from the European Commission. Now, it was mentioned already, the European Defence Agency, EDA. Please, Ms. Guichard.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed guests. So I'm going to explain what is EDA and what it is doing in the research and technology area. So it is an intergovernmental agency. What does that mean? That means that the member states are taking the decisions, and they are also giving us the funding. So that's really very, very important. First, in research and technology, we have the CapTech. What is a CapTech? It's really the center is the core engine of R&D in EDA. A CapTech is a community where you find, of course, member states, but also RTOs, research, technology, and innovation, and in organization, and also industry. That's really very important because in this community you can build networking, you can build trust, and you can organize cooperation and project in cooperation. And that's the aim of EDA, is to really foster collaborative projects between member states. So, of course, we have a strategy, that is to say each CapTech has a roadmap, a technological roadmap, because the aim is to bridge capability gap so that our armed forces really get efficient and up-to-date innovative weapons. So that's really the aim. We have 15 CapTechs. So on the left, you can see the domain CapTech. In the middle, we have the defense systems, missiles, CBRN, energy, radar, optronics, and navigation. And on the right, you see all the enabling technologies, such as materials, components, and simulation, and also technology and communication and information system. As I have told you, a CapTech member is either, so it is moderated by someone from EDA, a CapTech moderator. In each CapTech, each member state, which is interested in the CapTech, of course, sends a national coordinator, a CNC, a CapTech national coordinator. And you have also what we call CapTech governmental experts, so that is public research center, academia, for instance. And you have the industry and the private research center. So that's the community of a CapTech. If you want to join a CapTech, I think first you can get in touch with the moderator and really assess if it's interesting for you to join. And afterwards, the CNC, the Slovenian CNC, will approve or not your participation, because you need to be an EU company. EU industry, EU agency. So that's how it works. And to give you a few examples, so to show that Slovenian is very active in the CapTechs, a very nice project is the E+0, so energy positive and zero emission for deployable camps. This project is led by a Slovenian industry, TESAS. And the Slovenian industry rapporteur of the CapTech Energy, one of the two industry rapporteurs, is also Slovenian, the same company. Because in each CapTech, the industry is represented also as a kind of point of contact, and we call the point of contact industry rapporteur. And in the energy CapTech, one of the two industry rapporteurs, he's a focal point, in fact, is a Slovenian company, Mr. Maites Bejzer. And linked to the CapTech Energy, you can also find the Consultation Forum for Sustainable Energy. And Maya, who is managing the Consultation Forum, is here. The Consultation Forum is financed by the Commission, the DGNR, and the aim is really to find new solutions, new innovative solutions for sustainable energy for the armed forces, because, well, without energy, you can't do anything. That's really a paramount key point. And there are other projects in preparation. So, for instance, in the CapTech Air, you can see the projects there. And in other CapTech, hotspot for missiles and munition, Eurocode for CBRN, also space, optronics, and Slovenia is also involved in an EDF project called BattlePad, and it is a co-funded EDF project. That is to say that it's a development project, and EDA has been entrusted by the Commission for the indirect management of BattlePad. So You see, Slovenia is really very active at European level, and there are other projects in preparation. I will make a focus on one project, which is really important. It's called Sabavis 2. If you go to the hall, you will see the demonstrator of Sabavis. It's what we call a CAT-B project. That's the name of the projects which are created in the CAPTEX. A CAT-B project is financed by the member states, and the member states fund either the RTOs or the industry who participate in the CAT-B project. There's no competition because these projects remain, they go from low TRL till TRL 6. So they are research projects. And what is interesting is that there's, well, no competition, and it's usually a good first step if you want afterwards to go to EDF project, because in the CAPTEC you build cooperation, you build consortium, and afterwards you start with a CAT-B project, and you can have a follow-up in EDF, for instance. So you see the contributing member states for this project, so Poland, Germany, Slovenia, and Portugal. And the contributing partners, so very interesting, the University of Ljubljana is involved through several, I think 3 faculties from the university. And what's the aim of this project? It's really to support force growth of our mine countermeasure armed forces, and so to provide underwater surveillance and protection. And well, I will not read all the lines, but you can see that this project really fosters cooperation between academia, RTOs, and defense industry, and it really promotes Slovenia's world. The objective is to design and to implement a swarm of closely cooperating underwater vehicle. And it's a biometric littoral intelligence swarm. If you look at the prototype in the hall, you would see that it looks like a manta ray. So that's a picture of the prototype. So you see, research project, yes, but research project that really give results, that is to say concrete results, concrete capability for the member states. And this project has had field test campaigns in Poland, but also here in Slovenia. So in Port of Wales and also in Koper. The first pillar of RTI is really research. The second is the Hub for Innovation, HEDI. It was created in 2022 in the aftermath of the publication of the Strategic Compass. It has been evolving since its inception, and you can see here the new portfolio for HEDI. HEDI really wants to foster cooperation with dual-use SMEs, because you can really, well, everything goes fast. Everyone is aware of what's happening in Ukraine. They have probably a few weeks of innovation cycle, and we need to be really fast. And one way is really to transfer from dual-use technology to military applications. And that's why all the SMEs are really welcome to interact with HEDI. HEDI also cooperates with the Commission through the UDIS that was just presented by Christine. What we want is to identify dual use. Afterwards is to help mature the solutions for military applications, so what we call the forge. And afterwards, you do also some testing. It's the third phase, uptake of innovation and experimentation. And of course, we will still organize every 2 years the European Defence Innovation Days. They took place in Krakow in May, and more than 1,000 people went to Krakow, and there was a lot of nice exhibitions and also networking and panels and conferences. So a very an event which can really, you can see here, there was also, you can see on the right, on the left, the pitches for AI solutions for military decision making, and on the right, the first edition of a hackathon, which was dedicated for military academy. So really to bring people together and innovate. And the second important event of 2025 for HEDI was the OPEX campaign, which took place in Italy in July. And they dealt with cross-domain logistics, so UAV and UGV. 6 companies were selected, and you can see here the figures of more than 200 participants. And you see 6 different companies, and for instance, the small UAV was proposed by a very small Portuguese SME. I think there are 12, and all the companies spent 1 month in Italy for the testing campaign, really in the field. There were 3 layers. The first layer was really one platform, and afterwards several platforms of the same kind, and the third layer was several platforms from air and ground. The aim is really to bring together end users and innovators, and around 90 experts from different member states gave us the use cases that were tested afterwards in the field by the 6 companies and the 18 platforms. So bring together end users so that you can foster discussion, cooperation, common understanding. And the aim is also to mature the project so that afterwards you get efficient capabilities for the armed forces. And Christine spoke about the Brave Tech EU initiative, and in fact, which is entrusted to EDA by the Commission. And that's a bit what we will do on use case given by the Ukrainians. It's really to mature dual-use solutions, and yes, step by step you mature, and afterwards you get efficient solutions. So these 2 are the 2 main actions of the EDA. We are also entrusted with indirect management for all the non-thematic cores that Christine told you about. So we are dealing currently with a bit more than 40 projects. Most of them are from the indirect, for the non-thematic cores, but we have also a few bigger ones, and also confounded parts such as the battle pad I talked to you about. And let's try if the video works. Yeah. So join. Just come to our community, come to the CapTech or join Hedy, and we really need your ideas, your energy, your commitment. So please join.
Thank you so much for this transparent presentation with examples how to collaborate, how to join this agency. Of course, you raised a lot of things, smaller companies, SMEs that are strong in Slovenia, some research, the whole TRL levels. I guess you have questions, but let's wait with that until the roundtable. Now we move on with the next presentation, Ms. Kadri Tamai from NATO Diana. Thank you. Please.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, this is my pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for the invite for the Slovenian Ministry of Defense as well, and particularly Ida for the invite. I think Slovenian Ministry of Defense is really innovation-minded and a truly good partner for NATO. So I think that Slovenia and all of you are really in good hands in that regards. So what Diana is all about, Diana is NATO's front door for new game changers. So instead of calling them non-traditional actors, we call them new game changers. And before I will explain a bit more what Diana offers for the innovators as well as for the defense community, let's take just a bit broader angle. So historically, we all know that defense has been amongst the most conservative industries as well. For sure, there are other similar conservative industries like health tech, for example, really high barriers, but this is how innovators have definitely perceived defense. And this is why NATO, why the alliance has been missing out on innovation for defense as well. So one of the aspects, definitely I will try not to cover my own slides, has been that actually the procurement cycles, we all know that they have been extremely, extremely long. So it literally may take you over a decade to procure something, and once the tech will be delivered, this tends to be quite obsolete already. And this is clearly something that the whole alliance is tackling with right now. So trying to understand how to actually shorten those cycles, how to be more adaptive on that regards. So if we actually procure something, that something wouldn't be obsolete by the time when it arrives the defense forces. The other thing, why those game changers, why we haven't been seeing that many of them actually signing deals with the forces and with the procurement agencies is due to the high barriers. And those barriers are rather different. They start from simple things as speaking the same language or not speaking the same language. Because if you go out there, and I had a meeting with a lot of innovators who are keen to build defense applications in Ljubljana just yesterday, and I will do another event in Maribor later today with innovators. All of them, they are really interested in defense. And there are obvious reasons as well, but still some of the barriers seem to be really high. And for that reason, the defense is a bit still missing out. The other thing has been a really long distance from actual end users. So for the innovators, for the startup companies, for the SMEs out there, what is the rule number one? All of you representing the industry, and perhaps some of you are building your defense applications as well, you know that the first ABC is go out there and validate your technology. How does it go with defense forces? How would one SME would be able to, at the earlier stages before they actually start building something, to go out there and validate? Very clearly, it becomes confusing, it becomes classified, And this has been something that has been keeping those innovators a bit away as well. For sure, a lot of fragmentation has been across NATO, across the alliance, across EU member states as well. Just those innovators would even understand what's out there. Usually for us, it's the procurement rules across 32 nations. So it gets really fuzzy really quickly if you're actually an SME trying to scale up your business beyond your own nation only. So it's even tricky to understand national procurement laws, and it gets really, really tricky if you try to scale up, to go transatlantic, for example, to export something to US or in UK or in other European countries as well. And actually, let's be fair here, that risk tolerance hasn't been the highest. So just imagine that you are a procurement officer, and probably amongst the crowd here, there are a few procurement officers as well, so you can definitely wave if you kind of relate what I'm saying. What is the life of the procurement officer previously? So tens and hundreds and even thousands of pages of documentation, really detailed technical specs. And basically, you're expected to be that miracle man, to understand technology, to understand law, to understand what the kind of the defense pull is, towards which direction the overall defense domain is moving, and not necessarily the risk has been awarded. In some of the cases and in some of the nations, definitely, you could literally be fired if you are making wrong decisions around procurement, because no one wants to get that obsolete technology in their warehouses. No one wants to put their warfighters in danger. And this is how it's supposed to be. But defense needs to take a bit of more risk, be willing to adopt technologies slightly earlier than it has been doing so previously. And what has been keeping those game changers away is also uncertainty around budget. So if a procurement cycle extends a decade, so it's really clearly understandable that for those SMEs and startup companies, it seems to be that there's almost no market, because the budget and the contract is so far away that I can definitely put my very best foot forward and try to build a solution for defense, but I have almost zero visibility when exactly I would get any revenues for defense. And this is why dual-use concept has been kind of introduced as well, just to sustain those businesses and to make those businesses a bit more resilient, because usually commercial success tends to happen earlier. So this is where actually Diana comes in play as well. So we have a mandate across the Alliance to scout for the best commercial technologies out there to support their defense application pathways. So this is what we do. And how do we do that? We work closely with all of the allied nations, trying to understand what are the demand signals. We also work with armaments directors, clearly trying to map down what are the long-term, mid-term, as well as the short-term and urgent needs across the alliance to make sure that we will be able to provide them. Historically, what has happened, and all of you as well, you are using throughout your everyday lives technologies that have started off from defense or from space. So all of you have your smartphones and the cameras, a pure space technology initially, right? So historically, decades back, a lot of innovation has come to our civilian lives from defense and space domains. And now we are eager to tap into the resources, which kind of are the vice versa, meaning that a lot of technologies are well more mature in the civilian space, and the defense has been missing out on those. So we need to bridge clearly that gap. So this is why we do our challenge formation as well, to understand what are the demand signals and where actually commercial technologies could be the best use for defense application. So based on those demand signals, each and every year we launch challenges. So in June 2025 as well, we launched 10 challenges. And as you can see, those are rather broad. At least some of them, they are rather broad. You don't see buzzwords like AI, because AI is something that grows across different challenges for us. It's a bit of an enabling technology. We are really hardware focused as well. So if a private investor usually is rather afraid of hardware, we are not. We are, have a strong risk appetite on that regard. And what we clearly see is that usually it's a hardware-software combination, and around the software, more and more AI is embedded into that software. So we make the hardware way smarter than it was. So some of those challenges definitely are super relevant across the NATO. And definitely some of them represent also strengths of certain regions. So NATO definitely cares to have novel solutions for the space domain. We look for solutions that could resist harsh environments in the Arctic as well, so can tolerate hard cold, extreme wind, and can still survive throughout those conditions. And there are a lot of others as well. What you also see in those challenges, that we have a dedicated challenge for human health and performance and bioinnovation. And this is where Slovenia definitely clearly steps in, considering your really strong ecosystem around bioinnovation. And throughout our challenge calls as well, what we witnessed is that there's a tremendous interest from that civilian entrepreneurial ecosystem side to build applications for defense. When we launched the challenges earlier this summer, we received over 3,600 applications, representing 3,600 different companies out there, all of them willing and wanting to build applications for defense. And this is where kind of it's a sweet spot for them, because for so many founders out there, it's a mission-driven pathway, and that mission actually meets great business opportunity. Because in Europe, very soon, the defense overall market won't be valued in billions, it will be valued in trillions, which means that clearly there is a good business opportunity for all of those new game changers as well. Diana itself has its boots on the ground in 3 locations, so you don't find us in NATO HQ only. We are there as well, but our offices are in Estonia, in UK, and in Canada. So we very deliberately spread it ourselves across the alliance. And what do we do and what do we offer? Diana itself, as always, everything in NATO, it's about acronyms. So it's a Defense Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic. And we do innovation, we do defense, and we are adoption-oriented. So what we provide our companies with is a 6-month acceleration program, followed by additional mission track, which is tailored around specific adoption plan for each of the companies. Now, out of that huge application pool, we are down selecting to 150 companies for the program that kicks off in January 2026. Very deliberately, we keep it highly competitive, because once you're in, we are able to open the doors of 32 nations to yourselves to make sure that not only you are able to do your defense discovery, but as well as very clearly we are pushing you towards defense adoption as well. Now, coming back very quickly around dual-use concept, critical infrastructure, security domain, crisis management domains, those are also really relevant for us because they tend to sit in the intersection of civilian and defense. So we are clearly looking for solutions around those as well. So we provide acceleration program, we provide a lot of training. We also provide our companies capital, but this is not why to come to join us, and I will clearly within upcoming slides tell a bit more. How do we operate? We operate through activated accelerators across the alliance. So starting from January 26, we will have 17 different accelerators operational. Closest to Slovenia, we have an accelerator in Italy, also in Spain, in Poland, and then up to the Baltics and the Nordics already. Very keenly, I am waiting for the time so we would be able to open up also a dedicated accelerator here in Slovenia. So Slovenian startup ecosystem and defense dual-use ecosystem would be able to benefit from the opportunities that we have to offer as well. We are not investor. So we are not investing in companies, but we do provide funding. And that funding comes in the form of non-dilutive funding, should be considered as a grant, but we do call it a funding. All of the 150 companies who are entering the program in January will receive 100,000 euros. For the ones who can clearly show that there is a defense pull, clear need for such technologies as well, we can additionally award them throughout our phase 2 program up to additional 300,000 euros, also non-dilutive. We provide extra funding for testing and validation purposes. We have over 190 test centers across the alliance, and we do also provide a bit of additional funding to participate different operational exercises that NATO is hosting. So this is how we actually test and validate whether the solutions that the companies are building are truly and genuinely interesting and relevant for the defense forces as well, and the tech actually works. So this is coming back to the risk tolerance part. We do also provide a lot of expert and mentorship, so we have over 900 different activated experts across the alliance covering all the domains. So if you do need business support, we can provide business support, but mainly our operations are around defense specific. So how do you understand export controls, how to protect your IP, how to design and that kind of an adaptive business model that you would be able to actually pull off a dual-use business strategy. Because what dual-use actually is, it is more or less a strategical business decision and a choice to try to tackle both domains, because in the majority of the cases, tech itself, it could be used for both of the verticals, but it's a business decision whether you can chase after two domains as well. And it is making your company more resilient, but be aware, definitely this is twice as hard as well to actually in a meaningful way to pull it off, but we are there to support your pathways. And I will just close with a few slides around how the future then looks like. I think that the future looks like around the procurement, we need to take that more adaptive approach a bit, and instead of trying to eat the elephant in whole, probably we will want to slice it a bit to make smaller procurements way quicker than it usually works. I think the future looks like a combination of non-dilutive and private capital out there as well. Historically, majority of the defense tech solutions have been built based on the government's money. So the government places a contract and then only something is built. That landscape clearly is changing, and we are also working with capital communities and VCs out there in order to support that change, so they would be able to work with companies and invest already early on, but as well as support their growth stages. And indeed, I think that all of us, including us, we need to put our best foot forward to de-risk those technologies. So this is why I mentioned testing and validation opportunities, different operational exercises to actually make sure that once the defense forces are interested, and the forces are not interested in ideas, because no one is able to circle through those thousands of different ideas, this is where we come in as well, because we do a lot of due diligence for those companies. And this is why out of the 3,600 potentially ideas out there, we are selecting 250 that can actually change the game. And in order to change it across the different European countries and across the alliance as well, on every single stage like this, there's always someone who says that we need to cut the red tape. So how does it go? How do you cut the red tape around the procurement? For that reason, we built a dedicated vehicle in order to do that. And because of that highly competitive process, because of that all multi-layered due diligence process that we do for all of our companies, the nations can come in and single source from the portfolio of companies that we've been cooking. And for that reason, we built a platform which is called Rapid Adoption Platform, a dedicated secure platform for the nations to log in and to understand what kind of technologies NATO actually has to offer around those new game changers. And I will end up my short presentation with a snapshot of some of the companies and success. If you all remember and scroll your minds back to June, end of June, and NATO Hague Summit, there was an introduction of Rapid Adoption Action Plan, and in that plan it says that adoption across the alliance around novel technologies should happen in the time frame of 24 months. And after that announcement, a lot of discussions started whether this is feasible, whether actually defense forces can adopt new technologies in a 2-year time frame. Very clearly, we at Diana say, yes, we can. And the company showcased in that particular slide, called Lobster Robotics as well, is being adopted in a time frame of 12 months. So a rather new company, fresh spin-off out of the university, really eager new founders doing their first steps as entrepreneurs, and even then, the adoption can happen, not to mention the ones who have solid experience from the commercial sphere, how to do business. So this is my call to action to all of you. If you're a procurement agent, then shortening those cycles. We do have vehicles in place, so do get in touch. If you're representing an industry, we have definitely something to offer across opening up 32 doors across the alliance for those novel technologies. And if you're representing a government, then definitely reach out and let's have a meaningful conversation how to speed up those processes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So with that presentation, we will wrap up the international part of our presenters, and I'm inviting Dr. Liljana Brožić from Ministry of Defense of Republika Slovenia to present our national views on that.
Dobar dan. Good day, I wish to everyone. Welcome to Sidec, to Celje. I would like to present, some news from the Slovenian side. I'm aware that you have heard a lot, so I will try to be rich but very brief. As you heard before, Slovenia is very successful, especially in these past 3 years. We did a tremendous job, and I would like to go a little bit more in detail so that you can know what's going on. First of all, I would like to emphasize that what's the precondition to do a bit more in the field of R&D? It is absolutely that you have more money, and we are lucky because, the government, the politicians, and everyone decided that they will support this security, defense, and military field, especially the R&D. And at this slide, you can see how the budget for the defense grow in the past few years, and you can also see how the the percentage that is dedicated for R&D was also growing. So, of course, when you have more money, you have to work more, you have to have new ideas, and you have to do with what you have a bit more. So now you can see how this budget grew. And, of course, because this is a public money, everyone wants to know what this money was used for. So, of course, first of all, as I thanked to all the colleagues, I have to mention that Slovenia was very successful in past 3 years in joining the initiatives from the European Union, and European Defence Agency was presented, and also the European Defence Fund. So in both of these areas, we are very, very cooperative. We are leading a few projects. And of course, we did a lot also in the field of Diana initiative. So what you see in this slide is, first of all, what do we do in the international environment? And you can see on your left side, there's a special chart. There are also the projects that they were initiated from the Ministry of Defense. And now you can also see how this project were growing in the past 3 years. And please pay attention on the a little bit yellowish color. That are the projects that they were started or continued, because some of them started in the past. You can see how these numbers were growing, and you can also see how the national projects were growing. So what I'm saying about the national projects, these are the ones that they are financed by the Ministry of Defense. And we had a couple of calls with which we were trying to motivate everyone in Slovenia to join the network, or we can say the R&D ecosystem in Slovenia. And in this slide, I would like to comment a few things, not all of them, but I would like to mention that, let's say in NATO Accelerated Diana, 13 Slovenian test centers were included. And in this year, some of them also applied to join this R&D community. I would also like to mention that we have a Slovenian defense industry cluster that became bigger in past 3 years. I remember, let's say in 2022, that there was a bit more than 30 companies, SMEs in this cluster, but I just checked it today in the morning. They already have 156 members. So the community is growing. I also have to emphasize that we did pay a lot of attention on media, try to share all the information, whatever we do. So this public relations were very important for this area. What is new, I have to mention the Davos that was established recently. It's a special state company that's supposed to support the SMEs who did cooperate with us in certain projects, and they came to the high technological readiness level, and they're supposed to start with some kind of industrialization. Of course, we are aware that for the SMEs, this is not an easy job, but we will try to do the best to support them and to get them, in the broader market in the European Union. I believe that I mentioned everything now, so I can move on. There are two quite fresh events that they joined this R&D ecosystem in Slovenia. You can see that, and you probably read it yesterday in the news. We have, yesterday, there was a sign of an agreement on cooperation for testing military equipment and systems under Slovenian military standards. So this is a very important document for the continuing of the development of R&D projects. And there was also one important thing that started up. We got a bright new strategic council of the government of the Republic of Slovenia for the defense, technological and industrial base and national resilience. It was established at the beginning of this month, and on Monday there was a first session of this strategic council. So we are looking forward for the new progress as we really need it. And of course that we are not just talking about, about the strategic concepts. I just share with you today a few pictures of the results of these projects. Of course, they are not all. I just choose, some that they are more military oriented. But I would like to invite you very kindly that you go around the fair and that you have a look what was done. You can talk to people who did all this job and you can get more information, more impression, what it is all about. All I can say, and I'm really thankful that my colleagues already mentioned that before, yes, Slovenia was very successful in the past 3 years, and we are flattered that this was recognized by international community. Thank you very much. We will keep on working hard, but of course I have to mention also what we learned in this period of time. I have put, a few things on a slide. I don't want to read it for you because it's long. But what is really important for the country like Slovenia, you see, you have to pay attention here. It is not that we are a small nation. We are just few in population. That we did our job quite good. You probably know that we do not have any institute for military studies or something like that. So this is why we decided to join, to make a good network of everything that we have, and we wanted to do best that we can. Of course, this research infrastructure is really of great importance for dealing with the R&D area. I have to say that many of Slovenian universities, faculties have a very good R&D research network, not only on national level, but also in international level. And the cooperation with them is really fruitful. I have to mention also that we work hard on many different fields, as I said, in public communication, and we are trying to deal everything together. Of course, there's one thing, and as I see many has problems with that, yes, we need a good personnel with, let's say, more technological knowledge. And of course, we would need more people to know more about the military, defense, and security. Because, let's say, in our country, this area was not, maybe I can say, popular in the past 25 years, because, the security situation was really good, but then when it's worsening, this knowledge is really something that it's missing in the area when we try to start with some projects, because we have many different good companies, SMEs, that they come to us, but then we realize that they don't know the defense system very much. But we do our best, and we try to do more on this field of research. Of course, there are some challenges for the future, and as you can see, I put them in the international level and national level, and this is why I like that the colleagues from international networking of R&D are here. I would like, first of all, to mention that the term dual use is still a bit open. In the European Union, we are still discussing what kind of a definition this is supposed to have. I need to mention here that in Slovenia we are paying more attention on Slovenian civil security. Why? Because, in the past decade we had quite a few challenges that was caused by the climate change. I would mention here floods. I would also mention sleet or ice storm, as we say. We had quite a huge problem with that. And also the European migrant crisis was quite a challenge because there were so many people going through our country. And of course, we had a fire on karst area not that long ago. And in 2023, there was a huge flood that caused, many, many problems to the personnel, to the people they live in that area. And also, on a national level, there was a huge damage caused by these floods. The term dual use is still open, as I know. And then we have to pay attention about this resilience in the future. And of course, as you probably know, there's a lot of discussion on intellectual property in the area, because if you speed with everything you did on R&D field, then you have to take care about intellectual property too. And there is something else. We did talk a lot about competitiveness. I would like to mention here the Draghi's and Nistro report, how the European Union is supposed to be, stronger, how it's supposed to become a leading actor. But do we make any progress in this competitiveness if everything we do is open for everyone? That would be just a question to discuss. And later on, yeah, but on the other side, we have to take care about the open science and share everything that is done in R&D area. Of course, there might be some solutions in the procurement area. As my colleagues mentioned before, yeah, many processes are long, and let's say in the battlefield, many things change in that time that something is in the process. And of course, there are some administrative barriers we will have to eliminate somehow, or maybe find new solutions. On national level, yes, I believe that we have to do more on civil security because of all the circumstances that they might be caused by the climate changes. And of course, the knowledge that I already mentioned, that it's connected with the military. Whatever we do, however we want to be having a very peaceful future, we have to deal with the military topics too. So that would be all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. From the view of Ministry for the Defense of Slovenia. Now it's my turn. I'm coming from a bit different segment, so Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, where we focus on research on the advanced engineering solutions, and we believe strongly focused on the future space and also defense challenges. Faculty of Mechanical Engineering is one of the research institutions, we say. On the other side, also pedagogical institution, higher education institution, if you want so. And beside that, we don't just work on the fundamental research, as spoken before. We want to raise those innovations also in the applications. So part of our research activities is oriented also to the applied research. But going a bit to numbers, we have to be aware that more than now completely new number is 60% of our activities is related to research on all the TRL levels. So that means from the fundamental research, then applied, and also going to possibilities to let those innovations go into the market with true spin-outs and so on. We have more than 200 researchers, and in the last 5 years, we finished or are running 370 plus research projects nationally, 170 plus research projects internationally. We invested more than 10 million euros in the research equipment in the last 5 years, and the revenue from all the projects is more than 22 millions per year. Pedagogical part, maybe it's not so much related to what Sidec is here for, but not really. We enroll 1,500 students on all research, on all the levels of education, bachelor, master. Basically, we have 2 bachelor, master, and then the last column, the yellow one, relates to the PhD student, more going into the research and innovations. But I would focus on the first column, and these are the students. Half of those students go to the applied-oriented study or project-oriented study, and those students have the possibilities to go in one of the directions of mechanical engineering, either to process engineering, energetic segment, or mechanics, mechatronics, production. But they are two oriented more into the also to the military direction. One relates to the pilots, civil or military. The second one for the maintenance of aircrafts. From this year on, we have now the other option. Sorry, it's not in English. Okay, anyway, we'll explain. It's military module, where all the students have the possibility to in last year go to the military education sector, where they follow the lectures or the contents from the military segment, and in this way we educate also engineers that was not before possible into the military direction, and then being possible to be employed also there. Then we give the students, that's also one of the new elements of the equipment, research equipment, or flight simulator, where the students can then work in the direction of the pilots. We also give some long life learning programs, so-called micro-credentials, on this topic. One of the recent ones is the education on the drones, so non-manned operated systems. On the other side, research work. There is a lot of labs, a lot of different groups at the faculty, but what we have done in last 4 years is we created platforms. Why platforms? What's the purpose of platforms? The platforms are response to the needs of the society. The first 4 platforms are factories of the future, health, sustainable energy, and green and safe mobility. So there is a lot of different labs going and work together on these topics. Factories of the future, we deal with additive manufacturing, with smart production, with new smart factories and so on. In health segment, we are strong also in the development of lasers, medical treatments, new medical devices. One of those will be it's also presented or was finished, the project with ESA, and we believe that dual use can be applied in this context also. So we develop something for the extreme environments like space is, and then we move this to the more civil usage and bring something also to the general society. Then sustainable energies, focusing on how produce the energy, how to maintain it, how to store it, hydrogen, then all these new renewable energy sources, green mobility, EVs, safety, new structures, new materials, new cleaner productions in this segment. One of the examples is relatively huge project GreenTech. It's a collaboration still going on between a lot of Slovenian industries and the research institutions. The outcome, the project will be there till mid of next year, and the expected outcomes are more than 20 innovations, more than 20 patents. I think it's more than 50 scientific publications and so on. So a huge impact is expected directly to bring the innovations to the market through the established companies with new products, of course. In last years, there are some numbers that are now even increasing more or accelerating with the projects with EDF, EDA, and ESA. And you have seen, or you see that even in our environment which is really research oriented. We are focusing on those three platforms that were presented before. Some of the projects are listed here. I won't really go in detail with those projects, but they are focusing on additive manufacturing, new manufacturing technologies, then fuel cells, hybrid drivetrains, storage of energy, and then some other projects related or working together with Morse. These are projects related to the sound, how to do the sound or research on novel sound barriers, how to work with the drones with this new segment and take the control or some governmental laws or so on with the usage of those on a civil and of course military sector, and then a life cycle assessment, how this one can be implemented on the defense and military. NATO Diana, in 2024 we established 6 test centers at the faculty. Of course, if there is so huge investment in the research equipment, it would be pity not to collaborate in these ways also, and what was said before from Morse, that goes hand in hand with this initiative. Then of course ESA, I've emphasized this before. We think that this is really important to be in this program because we in one sense also see this as an opportunity for W's research or W's of the results. There was not mentioned before, but there is also there are also ERC projects that are oriented really to the base fundamental research, and that can also be a source where new ideas are researched, are going on, and how those can be raised up to the applications. And one of those was here, cryo cave, where cavitation was studied, and now later goes to the from ERC to ESA, where the application can be then realizes. Then we are now working on the, for example, self-organized swarf rovers or robots. Then Space Dent was a student project, and so on. So this brought us to the idea that we establish a new platform. It will be, it's now in the stage of establishment, space, defense, and security, where we want, with our confidence, with our possibilities, we want to give the answers, or we want to go into the direction of the needs of society, cybersecurity, then human health and safety in extreme environments, development of space technologies for the space exploration and satellites, autonomous robotic systems, support defense and security operations, sustainable materials, energy technologies, and new production technologies. And at the end, also advanced physics and fluid dynamics, of course, also the development of laser applications. Some of the projects that were going on or are still going on, Space Dent, like I said before, student project, how dental things can be done in the zero gravity. Non-invasive jugular vein pressure device was an example how the research results can be implemented into the product, and this will be launched in 2028, or will be used used in ISS, so space applications. Then cardiovascular countermeasures, prediction models, also research that can be applied for the health related issues. One of the recently finished projects, self-organizing milli robots, swarms that scan the surface, in this case for, of course, planets in the space. new sandwich composites for reusable vehicles, on-demand 3D printing with the sensors built inside, so really smart structures. Then some fundamental research results that want to be now used in the defense or the aerospace, atmosphere, elastocaloric cooling heating technology, some fuel cells, and so on. Yeah, with that, I will conclude my speech. I think important is that we collaborate or bring together, like was said before, innovations, bring them together with industries. It's not needed to be a huge industry, but can be SMEs, can be startups, and help them to bring this to the market. And of course, not for the military, for the space, as well as for the civil purposes. Thank you so much. Now, all the presentations are pretty much done. The second part of this session is going to be like a roundtable. I have some questions for colleagues here. If you have some questions, there will also be the possibility, we have some time. So, yeah, prepare on that. If I may, I would start the questions in the same order that were presentations going on. First, so the European Commission and Ms. What did it say? Yeah, sorry, it's hard. Slovenia has relatively strong research and, of course, also growing number of high-tech SMEs. How can DG DEFIS foster closer links between Slovenian, this industry, of course, also the research institutions with European defense programs to enhance their participation in joint projects and European value chains?
All right, thank you for the question. I think I can answer focusing on two angles. First of all, the opportunities that exist already within the EDF that were there from the very beginning, like special bonuses if the consortiums involve SMEs, cross-border SMEs. The funding is increased quite substantially, and we see that this measure has really worked. We see a lot of small companies joining the consortiums and consortiums looking for SMEs for their projects. I talked already about the specific calls, open calls that we have for SME R&D projects. So that is always a targeted category for us, where we don't tell you what you should, for what we are looking, but you should bring to us interesting disruptive ideas for the funding. And indeed, we see a very big interest, and the competition in this category is quite high. And of course, when we evaluate the projects, there are already proposals that are submitted. We always look at if these proposals create new cross-border cooperation, if there are new companies involved. And in fact, we can see that close to 78% of the companies are newcomers in defense. So I think it speaks, the number speaks for itself, that we have managed to involve, of course, but there's always, we can do more. And therefore, Defense Innovation Scheme was launched. And with that, we see that through the business accelerators, through the hackathons, now through the upcoming testing validation campaigns that will provide faster funding, iterative opportunities for iterative development, maybe smaller fundings than we used to give. I think there are more, these are again new opportunities that there will be for companies.
Thank you. Then Ms. Kushar. I was listening your presentation, and there was the ideas and impact and so on. And the EDA is increasingly recognized as a hub for the defense innovation. What specific programs or initiatives are currently being developed to foster defense innovation? especially through collaboration with industry, academia, and research centers?
So thank you for the question. So we have really two main tools, the CapTech, because that's where I would say everything starts, and the CADB project. But there's also a strong collaboration between the CapTech and HEDI. First, because some ideas come from the CapTech, also because some small companies are also members of some CapTechs. And HEDI really try to identify dual use, game changer, and mature the solution through iterative steps. So our two main programs are these two ones, that is to say the CapTech with the CADBs and also the Hub for Innovation, HEDI. So for the innovation days, but also for the portfolio, when we really want to mature solutions hand in hand with the end users, so that both innovators and end users work together and better understand each other.
Okay, thank you. NATO Diana, to move forward. One of the core strengths of Diana lies in the engagement with startup companies. We have heard that. What specific instruments of programs does Diana offer to support startups and small business developing dual-use technologies? And how do you ensure their sustained integration into defense value chains?
We have a very clear value proposition for all of the industry players out there and for all of the startups, as well as SMEs. So mainly, we are searching for cutting-edge technologies. And if you do position yourself that you are interested in defense, but you think that you are a newcomer to that field, so this is where I would advise you to knock our door. We will walk you through our acceleration program, through the defense discovery, so you would understand what it takes to build a business for the defense use case. And then we have dedicated tracks already available to support actual adoption of those technologies, because NATO, it's a military alliance, and we are able to make sure that you feel supported throughout those actions, as well as we definitely have a value proposition for the nations and the defense forces as well, because as I said earlier, we are validating those thousands of ideas out there to make sure that if we choose select companies, those are quality marked and secure companies.
Okay, yeah, thank you. To Mors, Slovenian Defense Ministry. Next question. So we heard that, of course, we know now that Slovenia is trying to, or is contributing to Europeans' collective defense resilience. And which are those national strategies currently playing the most significant role achieving this goal?
Well, I would say that all of them, because recently, many strategic documents were changed. Not only on Slovenian level, but also, in the European level, and there were many new documents in NATO level. But I would say that right now, the most important strategy is the one that is dedicated to industrial base, defense industrial industry. Why is this? Because, there are many projects. They reach the level 8 or 10 of technological readiness level, and they need some kind of support to continue. And this is why this strategy is very important right now. And this is why the company DOS was made, and the strategic council that I mentioned before was established. So we are trying, to help the SMEs to do something more in this field, so that there are not just the project, but that we would get, the items that they would go on the market, or that, we can use it, or that they can be sold.
So if just adding to this, it just popped in my mind. So that means that we are more focused on the products Or is it, so is there more focus on the high tier levels or equally to the whole one? Or there was also mentioned before that there was signed this contract or intention to test the equipment.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
again different aspect.
Yeah, let's say we focused, first of all, 3 years ago, we focused on many different areas. But in last year, we were focused more on the research project that they were ready on the higher technological level readiness. So what we found out, what was tested or is just about to be tested, we would like to put it in a phase that they will get a product out of them, so that we are not talking about the research project, but we are talking about the items, about the products, they are coming to the industrialization level, so that they can be bought or exchanged, by the government-to-government cooperation. So this is our primary goal right now, but we will do the other projects too, like, basic research and so on. But right now, this is our focus, because we would just like to end the mission that we started, let's say, 3 or 2 years ago.
So that was this impact in the end.
Yes.
Thank you. Any question from the audience? Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. Aida Vodlan from the Ministry of Defense. So for international guests, I would like to take this opportunity to ask you on what are your tips. So we are doing a lot, your presentation, and again, you told us we have many projects in EDA, companies are involved in NATO Diana, also we are participating in EDF, but as MOD and Slovenian industry, what tips can you give us? How can we do more and to really use the Slovenian potential?
I can briefly start from my end, and colleagues can take over. I think that the interest from the innovation communities is definitely there, and this is the reason why I mentioned as well the events in Ljubljana and Maribor as well. We see that the innovators are keen to understand what it takes to build defense applications, whether they are already quite there and mature enough to take the full advantage out of the opportunities that all of us we are providing. I think a bit of support would be required indeed. So this is why from NATO's side we are keen to work dedicatedly with nations like Slovenia as well to discuss, to provide support as well, and our know-how, share to our know-how to build local defense and dual-use defense ecosystems, because by the end of the day, it's always a national matter as well, because defense always is a national matter. So my piece of advice would be to start a bit earlier, because for the lower tier roles, I think the companies would benefit from incubation, defense-focused incubation type of support, because technologies like biotech, it takes a lot of time to mature, which means that if you consider any of our programs as well, probably the time frame isn't enough for some of those companies. So on the national level, you can already start earlier. I would definitely advise some of the pre-programs that would prep national companies to take the full advantage of Diana's opportunities as well as the ones that the EU is offering, and then take a bit of a closer look on those as well who are in the scaling phase. I had a meeting with the investment bank just yesterday just to discuss what are the opportunities for the ones who brilliantly understand what it takes then to do business in defense, and they now need to ramp up their production and actually internationally scale. So different funding mechanisms would be in place, and bankers wouldn't be afraid of defense anymore.
If I can continue, I think it goes a little bit in line what you were just saying on national support. We see in many member states different initiatives starting. Of course, I think Diana was really a good inspirer, but also before that. We see national innovation grants. Ministries are supporting defense hackathons. So there's lots of, I think, activity in EU, and I see that this gives you sort of a, prepares you before coming to European initiatives. So I think that's one piece of advice. Secondly, I would say don't be afraid for the companies to come and apply for the funding, for the defense ministry to support the R&D you want to, EDF to support, come and promote it. And I think Slovenian companies are so far doing really well. The success rate of the Slovenian companies in EDF is very high, and I think it should be a good inspiration for the others.
I really fully concur with what has just been said. I think that it's not so easy to join the defense sector because you really have to be aware of some special rules, that is to say, all the security clearance that you need, the export control, and the fact that you are not dealing with the same market. In the defense sector, there's only one customer per country. So you need to have a bit of a different mindset. But, well, it's not so difficult to do that. So what is important is really to structure a national ecosystem. So companies, academia, research centers, and also investors. And really to share a common picture of what is defense. Christina spoke about coaching. I think that's really important to coach startuppers or young innovators. Well, I know they are all able to do a business plan. They are all very skilled for their tech. But how you deal with a defense market with only one customer, all your strategy has to be built in a different way. So it's important also that the innovators should be supported for such topics.
Okay. Thank you so much. Any more questions? Yeah, there on the back.
Thank you. So thanks to everyone for very nice presentations and all the briefings as well. My name is Uroš Trinko, Lieutenant Colonel, Slovenian Armed Forces. So since we are establishing some kind of national organization for defense, security and resilience in Slovenia, is it possible to explain us what kind of model from the allied nations or any other examples we are following in building that kind of national organization? Thank you.
I can maybe say we see what we see from our perspective, from Commission perspective now. There's a lot of, many member states have established either it's Defense Innovation Agency, either it's part of the Defense Procurement Agency, itself for the Defense Innovation, a separate R&D center. So we see a different model, so it would be difficult to suggest one specific model. It very much depends how you see this entity or platform working with whether it will be part of the defense acquisition process, will feed in the capability requirement definition. I think it's really a national decision.
I think that really having an association cluster of companies is really very important because first you can share ideas and be stronger together. And also, while I was in Luxembourg 2 weeks ago, and they said that they were really happy that because they organized a Lux Defense, and afterwards this association is also dealing with European association. So in Europe, there's the ASD, so Aeronautics, Space and Defense Association, and they are also having some committees for SMEs. So yes, build national association, national clusters. You have a very nice cluster, I think, for energy, the CN. So let's do that in other areas, and afterwards try to go together to some to attend some European association. And maybe just one thing I didn't say before, in the EDA, the IZ Directorate is organizing twice a year an industry conference. You can attend online, but you can get news of what's happening. And so you can do also some networking. We have also a B2B platform, a matching platform, an identity funding platform to help the companies. But the industry conference twice a year is also a way to get some information which are relevant for companies.
I will very briefly comment from my end as well. So I think that everyone needs to understand that you're building an ecosystem, and that ecosystem consists of different layers and parts. So you need to focus your activities around the R&D as well, and mainly around our part, so the research part, to make sure that new companies have pathways and that actually you will be able to provide support. Then the mid section, if the companies are already in a bit of a steady state and they are converting into defense, and then the kind of the ramping up and scaling phase as well. So that ecosystem consists of researchers, entrepreneurs, investors, public funding available as well. If the question was particularly around the models, then there are definitely a few models out there as well. A lot of European countries have been replicating a bit US model, where the DIU and the Defense Innovation Unit is extremely focused on adoption activities, and they also have DARPA that supports the earlier stages, research-based activities for military purposes. UK has totally reshaped and restructured how they do defense innovation as well, once again to make it quicker, kind of tap into the military forces. It's a fusion between civilians and uniforms working together, so I think that it's worth a while to explore that new model that they put forward and just kind of launched this year. So there are a few examples elsewhere, for example, as well, but I do agree that every nation needs to identify their own brilliant pathway.
Thank you so much. I hope that answered the question. If there is no more question, then I would have one to EDA. So we have heard the EDA opportunities, and then on the other side, the EDF, and how the EDA ensures the coordination and complementarity between its activities and those of other EU institutions like the EDF.
Oh, in fact, we are interacting quite a lot with the Commission. We have different trends. The first one is we are working with DEFIS through the EUDIS, so EU Defence Innovation Scheme, and we are quite a strong partnership from this point. And also we will be interested with some activities regarding test and experimentation. That's the first one. The second, we are interested with indirect management for a non-thematic call of the EDF. The idea for us is really to link these projects with HEDI, the Hub for Innovation, because we are dealing with small companies and with their free action, research, development, and disruptive, emerging and disruptive technologies. But we are also interacting with DG Connect because they are working on a CHIP Act, and so we want DG Connect to take into account straight from the beginning all the defense features. So we discuss with Connect, we've also discussed with Connect on quantum, because we are launching an action plan on quantum for defense, and they are also working on a quantum strategy for Europe. So they have, so we have got in touch with them, and we are working together so that they could take into account all the defense-related topics. And also AI is a topic we are discussing with DG Connect. And we are working with DG NR for the consultation forum of sustainable energy. And it's really fruitful cooperation because we started the phase 4 this autumn. So really, I would say, and we try to advocate all the defense-related topics that may be affected by some Commission policy for which regulation, for instance, we are really say, oh, come on, if you do this and that, we will have problem for the defense sector. So voicing all the defense features towards the Commission when they are working on new policies.
Okay, yeah, clear now, yeah. Thank you. I have 2 more questions. NATO Diana. So we heard before that one important thing is also testing of the equipment. And how do you see, or what's your view on the role of Slovenian companies or industry within the NATO Diana ecosystem? What are the opportunities for them to strengthen their participation in testing, piloting, and technology development activities?
We already see a clear interest from the Slovenian ecosystem to apply for Diana programs as well. So if I scroll back last year, I think we received around 30 plus applications. This year it was almost 3 times bigger pool, which is definitely thanks to the initiatives that the Defense Ministry has put forward as well to introduce that opportunity. And considering how strong and how big is, for example, even only the bioinnovation ecosystem in Slovenia, there's a tremendous potential for those companies to convert into defense applications as well. So my piece of advice would be to actually indeed go out there and try to validate your idea. So not necessarily, I mean, physical lab testing or any kind of operational testing that can come way later, but to go out there and events like this, for those kind of entrepreneurs, it's a brilliant source for that validation because there are a lot of uniforms, at least we're in that room as well, probably they are out there now. So just go out there, pull their sleeve, introduce your idea, and get that validation, and probably that means that you will just a bit reshape your initial proposal. So this is what we see, is that some of the proposals, and this isn't applicable for Slovenian ones particularly, but in a nutshell, they are a bit weak around defense validation and defense understanding. So you don't need to thoroughly understand, but at least try your very best to do basic validation before you apply.
Right, thank you. And my last question to Ministry of Slovenia for the Defense. I just read a 7-year-old interview with futurologist at the Daimler AG Research Institute Berlin, when asked about future scenarios, he replied that manufacturing in industry is actually a simple matter. The first touch sensor in consumers' electronics were used around 2003. They were developed for the military or based on the military industry. And then it took Apple about 10 years to brought up the smartphones with that application. Is this an effective definition of dual use? Because we heard about that, we talk, there is no definition. Can this be a definition? And the other one, there are also Slovenian companies outside. Is there a Slovenian company or, perhaps that can launch something like this touch sensor for mass consumption or mass production in 2035, so in 10 years?
Well, first of all, I have to mention not that new directive that is connected with the dual-use items. So in the level of European Union, a while ago, this kind of a directive on dual-use items was already made, and it's connected with the items that can be used for dual use, and the emphasis in this directive is how to export this kind of items. And this is where this dual-use term comes from. But, in recent years, we are using this dual-use term despite the fact that actually in no document on the level of European Union is not written, except there was a white book launched last year in January, and the white book is called the White Book on Enhance the Defense Industry in the area of dual use. And in this white book, the European Commission put in the discussion 3 options how to deal with the dual use in the future. So first option is, that everything stays the same as it is. And the next option is that something will change, because you see the EDF regulation will change, because, the time frame for EDF is from 2001 to 2007. So there's already a new initiative developing, in the European Commission. But there's still a combination what to do in the future. So it should be something organized completely different, or maybe these 2 initiatives, because one is already in the horizon. The horizon made a new idea, how to deal with the civil security in the society. And this is supposed to be like more focused on civilian area, but with the possibility for the military too on defense. But on the other hand, you have the EDF regulation that it's actually more for defense and military. But in fact, in this document, there is no dual-use word at all. So on the level of the European Union, there is a discussion what would be the best to do in the future around dual use. And let's hope that in the following months or the next year, the definition and, of course, the path how to get to this dual use will be made, in some kind of regulation or whatever will happen. Maybe the colleagues might know more on this. Yes, I believe that everything in the future is possible. And it was mentioned before that many innovations came, in reality through the R&D in the military field. Because usually, there was always a lot of money dedicated to the military. But as we had a very good security past, let's say, for the past 20 to 30 years, we didn't put that much money on the military. We didn't care about it very much. So some civilian initiatives got more money, more chances. They were much more supported. And things are now shifting a little bit here and there. And let's see what the future brings, because I'm not a fortune teller. I would like to be, but I believe that everything is possible.
But still, just before going further with the dual use, the second part of the question was related. How far are Slovenian companies? Can we expect that something that they develop now in, let's say, military defense industry can go into the, how do you see it?
I believe that they can go very far.
Okay.
It's not going to be like Rheinmetall or Leonardo, something like that, because, our companies are small. But you have to keep in mind that Slovenians are very tough people. They're very hardworking people, and they're very flexible. And I can tell you this from practice, because we see that some of them are really, really advanced, and they are playing a very important role in many different or bigger consortiums. And, yeah, they can do it.
Good, thank you. I have the same feeling.
I feel obliged to say something about the dual use, and it's true, it's not my favorite topic. But indeed, it was made a political choice for these 7 years of funding that defense and civil is separate domains. So we are not mixing civil and of course we see in EDF is for defense products and technologies, but we see a lot of civil companies being part of the EDF and benefiting. But things are changing. Indeed, as you said, there was this reflection paper, and from next year you will see this change in reality that the European Innovation Council will fund both projects with civil and defense applications. So it's no longer as it was sort of in hiding if you do anything in defense. Same goes for the equity financing through EIC. You can come with defense projects for funding from European Investment Council. On EDF side, I don't expect that we would open to civil, as we have a huge Horizon program, and so far we are a very limited program in comparison with civilian programs. But therefore we have a European Defence Innovation Scheme. We see mostly civil dual-use companies that want to test their ideas for defense. This is our target audience that we mostly see in Accelerator, in the hackathons, in the matchmaking program, and hopefully also in the testing next year.
Thank you so much. So this brings us to the end of this session. Thank you again for our speakers, and thank you all the participants to follow this discussion.